So I'm going to talk about are you validating these works, automating our validation and policy checking processes with R. So my name is Lotte Wijsman. I worked on this together with my colleague Takema, who unfortunately wasn't able to be here today. So it's just me. So today, very smooth. I'm going to talk about some context. I'm going to talk about R for people who are not familiar with it, and it's always useful to explain things as you are doing a presentation. Some of our goals, the current state, because we're really making something, and then our future development as well. So as National Archives, we are not making our own web archives. So we are at the receiving end. So the ministries themselves, they do their web archiving, and then after a period of time, they transfer to us, which means that we don't know what they're doing, mostly. So this makes quality control very important for us, and we really want to know what they have been doing and what they are doing with these works. So quality control is really an important part of our ingest process, but also our pre-ingest process. So there's also a transfer period. So they could transfer in a year, but they don't want to because it's a pretty long process, and we're maybe a bit difficult, so they're not very eager to give it to us. So it could take some amount of years, which also means that the people making the works may have left the organization already, maybe retired already, dead, also a possibility. So there's some time that has been going. And this also makes that we cannot really ask some questions. So we're really dependent on our own quality control in that way. And then we also get some old legacy websites, and those are sometimes very creative and have some problems in it. They have been doing this themselves, but there was also a tender out, and we now have a central procurement, but they need to fix that themselves. Some of them have, some of them haven't. But it's still not in our own hands, so we're still not really sure what's happening there. We are talking to everyone, but you're never sure, and they can lie. We always say trust is good, validation is better. Don't trust anyone. But they do all have to transfer eventually. And the Dutch government loves making websites. There was even a comedian doing a sketch on how many websites we have, and it's a lot. There's 1,800 websites potentially, and we are asking daily harvest. So for now, we don't have a lot, but we can already imagine that there's a wave of information coming, a wave of web archives coming our way in a couple of years, and we really need to be prepared for that. So what we have done already is we made some guidelines. We also presented them at the Web Archiving Conference in the past. So in 2018, we had the guideline website archiving, that is conform the work standard, and they can read it, the ministries, and they can learn from it. And we also have a guideline on work validation where we specify we want daily harvests. We want you to use increments. So January 1st, you do the entire website, and then you just archive what has changed. And it's also very sustainable, so we can also sell it that way to them. It's very sustainable, so do it for us. And then also the size is very important, so we specify the work has to be a max of 1 gigabyte. And if it doesn't happen, we got a work from a bank, the National Bank or something, and it was 14 gigabytes, and it took some work to get it to work properly in a viewer, and it took a lot of time. So we also accept that, but we dislike it a lot. Then I work in team preservation at the National Archives, so we do the quality control. So you have, when they transfer to us, you have the metadata people looking at the metadata, you have the collections people looking at collection things, not sure, and then we really look into the files. So we really go into the works, and we really look at what have they done. We open Notepad++, and we're like, ooh, looking into the work. And we also use a lot of tools. So we use Jove, we use Droid, and you can say, well, why are you using Droid? Because it's all work, but we're doing this not only for works, we're also doing this for PDF, for other types. So this is more broad. But for works, we're also using Workio and JWAT. And we're using the guideline as a basis for this checking process. But currently it's semi-manual checking. So we have tools, but the export we need to sort of manually check it. And we have one colleague who has a lot of experience in these transfer processes. But if something happens to him, which I really hope doesn't happen to him, there's a lot of knowledge going away, and we don't have that because he has that experience. So we really want to progress to automating our processes, and also using this as a sort of way to get our knowledge, really documented in a good way. So that's where R comes in. So we had a colleague coming in, and he was talking about data visualization, and he was like, I did some work with WARC, and it was in the summer, so we were like, show it to us. And he showed it to us, and we got really enthusiastic about it, because our team is, one is a real programmer, and then the other 3 people, myself included, are not programmers. So we have a sort of history background, and we're trying, but we're not IT people necessarily. We're really trying, though, so that's fine. But we really like the look of R and how it felt more natural to us. It's also from data science, so it's really close to the data. And we're like, okay, so we're not programmers, but we know our data. We know the WARCs, and we know what's in there. So it felt like really natural for us to go for R. And it allows you to manipulate data, but also visualize data. And you're like, that is a really small image, but here comes a really smooth transition. So smooth. So this is the integrated development environment R, and you can see a bit of our code. I also have it ready if I have some time left to show a bit more of it. It's like 215 lines of code at the moment. We're still working on it excessively. So you have the code. Can I use the mouse? Yeah. So you have the code right here, then you have the console right here, and then this is the data frames we're loading in and the values we're creating and the visualization. And I asked my colleague to do the color scheme of the PowerPoint, so he did that very nice. It was pink because it was the Barbie summer, so we had like hot pink visualization at first, but we changed it for this presentation specifically. So this is a bit how it looks at the moment. So what are our goals? We want to automate our processes, but for us it's also an aspect of product ownership. We want to have a product that we can really have ourselves, and then we can really do what we want with it and really do our own thing, because we can talk to IT people, but they are looking from it from more of an IT perspective. We can talk to administrators, but they're also looking at it differently. So we can do sort of our thing in this area. And then it's also for us about skill building. We really want to learn some programming, and this is a really good way for us to do it. We know the data, we know what we want, and we can really build toward what we want because we know we have that set in stone. And and also we have our big friend ChatGPT, who sometimes helps us if we're running into problems. If you are a beginner programmer a bit, I can highly recommend using ChatGPT. It can explain it to you like you're not a programmer, which is great. It's also for us about innovation, innovating our processes that we have, instead of, being like, this is fine, well, it's not fine, and there's a fire going on. And then also prototyping, and it's more agile. We can, if we think of something or we're changing our processes, we can change the product and be more, instead of, solving the fires, we can sort of prevent the fires from happening. And we could also give this to maybe our collections department in due time as a product. And then we can really be the product owner and have them do sort of the basic stuff. And we sort of fly in when there's a little fire. So it's not just us doing the things, because we're more of a consultancy team in that sense. So our checklists. So we want to do validity checks, which is what the tools do. But we also want to do those policy checks. And we didn't have really tools for that because, that's our policy. That's our guideline. And then we also want to have the visualization part of it, because when they are transferring to us, we are talking to these ministries. And if we open Notepad++ and show them a work, they get scared. And a visualization in a fun color, it really works. So we want to have those 3 in place. Very smooth again. So so for validity, we specify what do we want to have from the works. So we want to have the file name, of course, logically. We want to have the format, because that also helps us for the future if we're doing different formats. The status, is it well formed and valid? That's from the Jova tool. then we want, if it's not valid, we want to know what error message is coming, the sub message, so what is really happening, and then the severity. Is it an error? Is it a warning? Or is it an informational message? And then our policy checks are the size, the date, the work record type. So that is if it's work info, if it's a response block, what it's about. And then the content type header value, and that is the header of the HTTP message that has the payload. And that tells us the MIME type. So we could also use it to really be like, okay, does this work have any flash in it? Does it have any weird stuff in it? So it gives us a clear overview instead of us being like going through Notepad by hand. So it's more about really getting what we want from it in a way simpler manner than just spending hours on it. So currently, we would use Jove, for instance. We're really working on that one. So you would get an XML export. We would load that into R, so you can see R a bit more. And then what we also did, because we noticed that it would really be really slow because the Jove output is really like dense. So we also use DuckDB because it also has packages for DuckDB, and we like the name, to be honest. It's really fun. So, and why not? So we use a database. We make empty tables in there. We fill them up, and you can really query them as well and ask what you want from it. And we use SQL dplyr for that. And then for the visualization part, we use ggplot, and then we can make visualizations as well. And this one is about the work size, I think this one is. And then which we really hope we can do is have, in the end, a visualization where you would have the work size, but you would also have the dates going, and you can really see the full harvest in the size, and then you would see the increments. Then you add a line of the 1 gigabyte max, and then you can really see immediately what's up with this collection over time, in size, what's happening there. So we also did a sort of roadmap thing. So we have 4 modules that we are working for right now. So module 1 is we want to have you can put the export of multiple works in there, and the extraction of the needed properties, and automating the validity check. Then for the second module, we want to do the policy checks in addition to that, concerning the harvest cycle, the size, the increments, stuff like that. Then the third one is checking in the work content file property. So that's the MIME type thing I was talking about earlier. And then the fourth one is visualization and creating an interactive dashboard. So you don't have to really start up RStudio, but you can, click the buttons, say, I want to know something about the size. You can select a workflow. We have some ideas with that, and maybe a fun name that fits the other tools that are in existence a bit. And then you can see the line is not stopping because this is just the work module. And we are also aiming to go for more modules concerning PDF, TIFF files, anything you kind of need. And then use the comments as well to really solidify our knowledge in it as well. So it will be sort of a working encyclopedia in that sense, we hope. So this is where we're at the moment. So module 1 is actually finished. Then for module 2 we're just missing the dates. We're still figuring that one out. But then I think we're right like here, I would say. I had like a laser thing, but it doesn't work on screen. So it's here. And then for the third one, we need the content file property. So we got a property, but the content type property, but then the wrong one. So we need to figure out how to get the right one selected from it, because there's 2 values that have the same name, and that's quite difficult to get out of it. And then module 4 is not ready at all. So we had some visualization basics set in place, but Shiny is a different beast to kill. But it's really nice because we're also really building our skills over time, and it's really fun for us as a team to do this and work on it when we can. So this is where we're at right now, and hopefully I can maybe show you next year a really working product. But this is where we're at right now. So thank you all for listening, and that's my final slide. Thank you so much.